Okay, everyone, so it is 8 o'clock in the US, so we're going to go ahead and get started now. Welcome to the second day of the 6th annual virtual alumni conference. We're so happy that so many faces have come back to join us for the second day. If you're joining us just today, welcome. Thank you for coming. I am Rob and Karen. I'm joined by Zara and Elise. We're really happy to see you here today. We want to, of course, thank the State Department and Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs for their ongoing support for the program. We're joined by our Senior Program Officer, Maxine Peter-Lund, and she's going to start us off today with some welcoming remarks. So I'd like to turn it over to her to say hello to everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to see some familiar faces. Thanks to American Council for getting this organized. For those of you that are here right now, and for those of you who will be listening to the recording, I apologize for my voice, but I'm here with my heart and my head, but unfortunately my voice isn't cooperating. But I look forward to seeing your presentations, and I look forward to seeing you all in the future.
Thank you so much, Maxine, and we hope you feel better. So, yesterday's session, we were able to hear from an expert in global competence and project-based learning, but today's focus is going to be more on hearing from our experts in the field. So all of our alumni are usually doing amazing things in their classrooms around the world, and so today we're going to hear from 4 of them about how they use project-based learning in their own classrooms. We're going to start out by hearing from, we might actually switch this up because I'm not sure Jolly has joined us yet.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, great. Okay, wonderful. I just didn't see you there. So we're going to start out with Jolly Lee, then we're going to hear from Hawaida Hassan, Chenjin Yoon, and Adil Gatas. And then at the very end, we will have questions. So everyone, please save your questions, or you can just type them into the chat window and we'll circle back to answer all of your questions for all of our presenters. But we are going to just go through each presentation and then we'll address questions at the very end. So I want to introduce our first presenter, Jolly Lee. She participated in TCLP in 2015 to 2016. She was hosted by Walnut Elementary School in California, and she's currently the head teacher of the 11th grade teachers at her school, and she's going to share with us about how she uses project-based learning in her classroom. So Jolly Lee, I want to turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Jolly Lee. I'm very honored to be here to meet you all. And first of all, I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to American Councils for giving us the opportunity to gather our alumni together. So that's a really good opportunity to see each other. Thank you. Today, I'm gonna share some of my work that I did in my classrooms. Robin, would you go through the slide? Thanks. So for project-based learning, mainly I divided into 6 steps. The first step is, Robin, would you adjust yeah, thanks, and next. First of all, we choose a project, and then we plan the project in groups. And then we're gonna have students explore and learn. So the PPT, go on. Robin, thanks. Yeah, they explore and learn, and next they are gonna make the project together. And then they present their project, sometimes in the classroom, sometimes outside the classroom in the community. And then we give assessments. So mainly there are 6 steps. And next. So let's look at each step in detail. First, we choose a project. Mainly, I choose a project based on the learning materials. And in each unit, for English class, we have a topic or subject. So our project is mainly based on the topic of this unit. And if the project is close to life, the students will be more willing to do it, to explore. And we have to make sure that the project is achievable for the age group of our students. Next, thanks. And second step, oh, sorry, it should be the second step. Robin, this is the, thank you. Yeah, second step is to make a plan. Usually the students in one group, they have a group leader. The group leader set the roles. So each student has a different role. And the group leader assign the tasks to each student to make sure they are doing their job. Next. Next slide, yeah. And the third step, they start to explore and learn. In this process, they collect information, they collaborate with each other, and then they revise their information. So that's a long process and a learning process too. Next slide. Yeah, the fourth step, they start to make the project. While making the project, we have to make sure the safety, because you cannot let students go too far. So make sure it's safe. And we do encourage creativity and diversity. You can make creativity and diversity into the rubrics later on in the assessment. I'm gonna talk about it. So if the students really make a very creative work or very diverse, you get more points. Next. And then they are gonna present the result. In this process, we teachers have to make sure that the students participate. Not just one student come up or just one student go out to present the result, but make sure more members are participating in the process. Of course, in this process, we have rubrics, and for different projects, we have different rubrics. If the students just present their result in the classroom to their peers, we can have rubrics like accuracy, fluency, the contents, and so on. If the students are going outdoors, like going to different communities to present their results, and we're gonna add rubrics like the number of people that you reached out in this project and the effectiveness. And they can also have a survey to make sure that they're doing their voluntary work in a very effective way. So we can have different kinds of rubrics to judge their project. And then we have question time for students. And in this process, the teacher and the students can ask the presenter and how they were going with the project and what's their difficult point and how can make it better, and they have question time. So in this process, students communicate and the teachers can get involved in to raise their doubts or even give them some praise. So for the question time is really important process too in presenting the result. Next slide, please. And don't forget to give assessment. And when we assess a project, we assess the group as a whole. We do not assess an individual, but the whole group. And as for the facilitator, we need to give some practical advice. Even students, they are listening to the project, are going to give some practical advice. And we can also give rewards, and rewards can totally depends on the interest of the students. It can be anything spiritual or material. So give the rewards so that they have more motivation to do the project. Next slide. So generally speaking, there were 6 steps. And just now we talked about choose a project, make a plan, explore and learn, do the project, present the result, and give assessment. Next are some examples that I did during my classroom. Actually, I didn't do it for a long time, only for a few months. So I just give a few examples of some simple projects. For this is a unit about the United Kingdom. So students are going to explore some information about the complicated history of the UK, because the history of UK is so confused to not just the students, but to a lot of teachers, because they're really complicated. They have different parts joining together at different times, and they all have different features. So the students went to investigate. They started from the flag, how the flag formed in each part, and it stands for different parts of the UK. And next. Yeah, this project and the group focus more on the invaders. Not only do they talk about the flags, and for this group too, they talk about the flags and even the name of each part of the flag. Like the cross of George, why not George, not why George, why not the cross of Robinson or the cross of the Jack? And they explained it very well. So through their research, they really learned a lot about the British history and the invaders and what they left after they invading the country. So would you go through the pictures, Robin? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, for this group, they use a map very wisely. They make use of the map to show the project, to present the history of the British, the UK. And for the second subject that we did is about the development of the Earth. In this project, students went to the museums, they went to see exhibitions, so that they can get a very clear clue about how the Earth developed from the very beginning, the Big Bang, until now, till human beings appeared on Earth. So in the process, they visited the museum with a purpose, and it's not just going around and see pictures and stuff like that. They went to the museum with a purpose. They know they are gonna explore how the Earth developed from the very beginning to now. Would you go through the next slide, please? Thank you. For this one, this unit will learn about Canada. So students are going to make a traveling plan to Canada. So they have to have a very detailed information of the different places of Canada and where they want to go and why they want to go there. They have to know the features of each place. Like if you want to go to visit Vancouver or Montreal or Quebec, and why do you want to go there? And what are the characteristics of each place? So Robin, would you go through the next slide? Thank you. And yeah, this is another group's work, and they start from the flags and the different places, the forest and the culture, and that's their traveling plan about this unit. Yeah, they want to take the True North, the train, and to see different parts like Niagara Falls. So students are quite eager to make this kind of traveling plan because they feel someday they can really follow their traveling plan to go to visit Canada. So would you go through the next one? Yeah, thank you. For this one, is really close to life. We just did it a few weeks ago. In this unit, we learned about first aid knowledge. And the students research information in 2 languages, in bilingual, because they're gonna go out of their classroom to spread the first aid knowledge to different kinds of people in their community. So they did the work in bilingual. Next slide, please. We can see from the pictures that they went to different parts of the city, went to the park, the mall. Next slide, please. They spread their first aid knowledge to different groups of people, especially those with kids. They need to know some like burns, the very practical first aid knowledge. So in this project, a lot of groups have a survey to see how effective they're spreading, how effective of their spreading their first aid knowledge, whether they really get the knowledge or not. And even how many people have you reached out to spread your knowledge about first aid. And next are a few pictures of my class. So in the classroom, students really work in groups. And before that, I was afraid to do project-based learning due to the large size of the class in China. But actually, when I divided them into groups, and I find that they are really working very well about a certain topic. And they research together, collecting information. They talk about their doubts, their confusion, and they are really involved in the class. So it's much better than giving them a reading passage and asking a few questions, asking and answering, and with some questions. And actually, we are breaking the whole passage as a whole subject. So right now, I will assign them big task or give them a project to do, and I don't have to interrupt them with a few questions. So they just work together to solve the problem, to make the project together. And in the process, they collaborate very well with each other because they have a certain goal together. Next slide, please. So those are the pictures of the classroom. You just go through it, right? And that's how they work together. And they are, even though we have a large class size, but they really get involved in the class. And while they present the result, and all the students are paying attention because we have rubrics to judge how many points that they're gonna get for their group. And when after they're done with the presentation, the students have a lot of questions and they have fun asking and answering the questions, and they're very satisfied with their answer or with their practical advice. So basically, those are the projects that I did in a few months. So I'm looking forward to more of your excellent work because I just started to do not a long time ago, and I'm looking forward to your advice. And thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Jalili, for sharing those excellent examples of how you've used project-based learning with your students and how it's really made a positive influence on their enthusiasm for the subject. I really love your idea of them making travel plans. They get excited about learning about maybe a faraway place that's something they can actually go to. So that was really wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Well, if you have questions for Jalili, you can either type them in the chat window or just hold on to them for now. We'll be asking questions at the end of everyone's presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up in our schedule is Huwaida Hassan. I'm not sure if is Huwaida there? We just don't see her yet. We are all very proud of her because we found out yesterday that she got a promotion. She's now going to be a principal at her school, and she actually has training today, which was news for her. So she may be able to join us later. So we will move on to the next presenter in the meantime, and that would be Jalili. And Chen Jinyun, sorry. And if Huwaida is able to come back to us later, then we will certainly hear her presentation, or we will at least show you what she did while she was teaching in her class. So for now, we're going to go on to Chen Jinyun, like I said. So Chen Jinyun participated in TCLP in 2013 to 2014. She was hosted by Drakut Senior High School in Massachusetts, and she is currently the leader of the Year 12 Administrative Group, the leader of the Guidance Office, the head of the English Teacher Group, and an English teacher at Nanjing Foreign Language School. And we are very thrilled to be joined by her today. She's also going to be sharing how she uses project-based learning in her classroom. So Chen Jinyun, can you share your audio with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And I'm
Okay.
going to, I think we practiced this before, so I'm going to turn over the remote control to you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so you should be able to go through on your own.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Hi, I'm Chen Jinyun. Thanks very much for TCLP and American Councils giving me this chance to share my experiences with all of you. I think if we want our students to love learning and develop the language skills necessary to communicate both socially and academically, then we as teachers have to make learning both authentic and motivating. And the best way I have found to do this is with project-based learning in the classroom, because it's more student-centered, and I think students can engage more in learning, and they will have true passion and really get very interested in the topic. So here is the project-based teaching steps that I used during my class. The first step is that we should have clear aims and essential questions for our students. Since each project is different, so it's very important that you have clear aims for students, whether it's for vocabulary or for learning or for reading a topic, for doing a research for a certain kind of topic like science or math, and any topic that you like to your students to develop. And also, it's very good to have essential questions. Make a list and put it in your classroom, and they can follow this pattern. And the second step is that you should have very clear steps for your students to follow, and also you need to design rubrics for your students, and they know how they will meet your expectations. Usually, I would sit down with my students, each group, for 10 minutes. And we will discuss their plans. And also, at this point, I will give them evaluation procedures, and I will explain how they will be evaluated according to the rubrics. And then, in this part, usually, I think students, they should know what they want to do in the project, what form it will take, who will be responsible for what, and whether they have an idea of time it will take to produce each part of the project. And sometimes we will also discuss about the material and the resources they might need. And step 3 is about the research guidance. Usually it involves in materials and the resources. I think it's very necessary to provide students with some websites you've already found that are very appropriate to the topic and also the age group. And also you need to provide students with, materials such as a card, scissors, glue, paper, tapes, this kind of stuff they can start with. And it's fairly common now that for learners to use internet to find information for their projects, especially in our school. Every student, they have an iPad. If they don't have iPad, then they have a Mac. So it's everybody, we are based on computer learning. So if there is internet available in your school, and you have to make sure that the students have informed you of exactly what they are looking for on the internet, photos or prepared list of information. Because if you simply give your learners time on computers, sometimes it can lead to aimlessly surfing on internet, and they will lose focus. So it's very important that you keep, keep knowing that what they are going to do on the internet. That's for research part. And then for step 4, the presentation of final project. I think projects need to be seen, read, and admired. So to schedule the presentation session is very important. My presentation part takes many forms. Sometimes, posters, cards, bookmarks,
and oral presentation, and it depends on that what you really want to present. So the forms can vary. Next part, step 5 is evaluation and feedback. I think it's not enough to just say, that's great. After all the work learners have put in, I usually will use a sample project evaluation report, which comments aspects of the project, such as the content, design, language, work, and overall, outlook of the whole design and the project. So sometimes the oral presentation involves all their, the speaking, the skills, gesture. So it's really varied. So the next step, I'm going to show you some of my examples of in my class. These are some coursework. I think I put on a little bit faster. The first crossword I just shown is about vocabulary. Let me see whether I can move back to the.
Go back to. I can do it if you.
Yeah. Oh, could you do it for me,
Yeah,
then, please?
of course.
Because I think I clicked several times and.
So you want to be on this side?
Yeah. Next one.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Crossword puzzles. I designed this project for vocabulary review. So basically they will be, students will be provided with all the words in the unit, and they can design in all the words in the puzzle. And, I will put it all in around the classroom, and they will, all the classroom, they go around and they can figure out how many they can. The first one who figure out all, they get all the words will win the prize. So I think it's very interesting for students. They can review the words, but initially they need to design. Everybody need to design a puzzle based on the words they learn. So in this process, actually they reviewed a lot of the new vocabulary, and they try their best to put in the most difficult words in this crossword. So it shows up very good. Students, they, after this, they've done very well in this vocabulary review. Okay, could you move on, please, to the next example? Yeah, this one is the poster, and sometimes we do storyboard. Since my English reading involves a lot of ACT and SAT reading materials, sometimes it involves many natural science reading articles, and natural science, humanities, and prose fiction articles. So usually we're based on one topic. For example, natural science, this is the photos I chose for today. And the students, they were, I will discuss the plan with them, and then they're going to do research on their computer. And I will work, with each group for 10 minutes and make sure they know the topic. And next slide, please. And then I will provide them with, necessary materials. And then they discuss with the plan they're going to show. And finally, they will present the final board, word, and posters. This is a storyboard, prairie dog. This is the theme of our natural science article analysis series. So it's a big review for the whole topic we've learned for that unit. Is all based on the natural science articles. Next one, please. And swim well, and also another topic. Next one. This one is about cicadas, their stages, and very important person. Next one, please. And this is presentation. We're going to put all their works on board, and we're going to mark them number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, And then I will ask all teachers and students, they are going to vote for the best poster or the best storyboard. And the winner will be awarded for a big prize. This example is bookmark, just as Robin just showed. The bookmark one is based on the English book we've read. And usually that we're going to design students a task after class. They are going to read a lot of English books. And then after each session, usually 1 week or 2 weeks, they're going to report what they learned from, what they read for these 2 weeks, what English books. So sometimes I will do a bookmark. Sometimes we'll do a report. Sometimes we do book report. Sometimes we will do a presentation or a presentation. And this is an example of a bookmark. So students, they will design both sides of a bookmark, and they will choose one of their favorite sentence in this book, and from which book, from which author. And on the other side, they're going to show their design, why they like it so much, about the cover. And usually they will the sentence they share with each other, and they will discuss why this sentence means a lot to them, why the sentence bring value to their life. And students will discuss, and they're going to choose the most creative bookmark, or they think that the best bookmark. And we're going to number each bookmark from 1 to 20, and teachers and students, they will vote for the numbers. So finally, we're going also to praise them a lot. And this is the last example is a presentation. We usually will give presentation like every class. We will spend like 3 minutes to 4 minutes is presentation time. And this is our tradition in our Nanjing Foreign Languages and Xianing campus, that we have our presentation every class. So so presentation, this one is based on our actually learning topic. We actually design each student a topic of presentation for the whole semester each year. So students, they get chances actually to take turns to go to the platform and give presentations, to practice their confidence. And also sometimes the presentation is closely connected to the reading part. Sometimes the presentation, depends on different subject. Like Chinese subjects, they will have totally different presentations with our English. So my class, the presentation usually connected with the reading passage. Actually, we were going to read. I was going to design a task like 1 week or 2 weeks ago for my student, and discuss about the whole topic, and then they will bring more background information for the reading passage we're going to read. I just saw a question from Eva, right? This saying about which grade, about the bookmark. My grade is grade 11 and grade 12. I teach both grades, so they are the same. The bookmark one I used in my year 12. Okay, and that's the 4 examples actually I used in my class. There are more, but since time is limited, that's all I'm going to share with you for today. Thank you very much for listening.
And thank you, Chen Jingyun. That was really wonderful to hear how you did project-based learning in your school. You gave some really great examples of how you've used this. I really love the bookmark idea. I think that's a really neat way of getting students engaged and really reflecting on maybe texts that they've learned or they've read in class. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
We do have a quick question that we just want to maybe clarify. Would you give a grade for the bookmarks?
Yes. Actually, each project will be marked according, because we have class activity in our school. Actually, we don't give their final mark. We have 60% according to their homework, quizzes, projects, and tests. and also their attendance. So we have 60% of their final score according to their, their learning process. And our midterm accounts for only 10% of the final grade, and our final exam accounts for 30% of the whole final score, final grade. So for each one, we're going to mark also from 0 to 100. And the best one will get like 99, sometimes 100 if it's got A+. So we have the grade from like A, B, C, D. We put it like simply, it's each grade. And from A- to A+ is from 90 to 90 to 100. And B is B+, B-, B and B+ is from 80 to 89, and 70 is C, 70 to 79, C-, C and C+, and D is 60. Usually students will do much better, like if they get graded. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that. Again, if you have questions that you want answered from our panelists, remember to write them in the chat window, and we're going to answer all questions at the end, because for now I want to turn it over to Adel Gattas. He participated in TCLP in 2017 to 2018. He was hosted by John Lovell Preparatory High School in Staten Island, New York. He is currently a senior teacher of English at SU STEM School, and he has just returned to being an Access teacher, so we want to say a big congratulations to him on his accomplishments. And now I want to, without any further ado, turn it over to Adel to talk about how he has used project-based learning in his classroom. Can you hear us, Adel? Oops, we can't hear you quite yet.
Okay, now you can, right?
Go. Great.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and it's a great pleasure to see all these faces, and I'm happy to be your next presenter. And I'll be talking about my school, a youth STEM school. And do I have control over the PowerPoint?
Yes, you do. You should be able to go ahead and move it now.
Okay. So it is in my home town, Asyut. And actually the whole school is project-based learning, the methodology in the whole school. Not only my school, actually it is a system, like we have 9 schools so far and it is expanding. So there is one difference between...
Is the control working for you?
This will stop other screen sharing. Do you want to continue? What should I say? Yes?
You should just be able to just click on the screen and that should advance it. I'm not.
Okay. I'm trying to.
I see you moving the cursor. If you click, will it move the PowerPoint? Yep, there you go.
Okay, it started. So I was just saying that there is a very clear difference. As I'm listening to the other presenters, I noticed a clear difference between project-based learning that I am going to talk about and the others. It seems teachers have some control over the projects they carry out that they have been talking about. Because my school is project-based learning, like everything is based on this project. So it's very elaborate. It's not a small project that one teacher can carry out with his class. It is, the project is at the core of the whole system. And I will give you first an idea about my school. It is called a youth STEM school. And it is one of 9 schools that started in Egypt. And as I said, they are expanding. I mean, some more schools are going to open very soon. It's a boarding school. Students live in a dormitory next to the school. And they study and live there for the whole week. They go home for the weekend. Sometimes they prefer to stay in the school in order to finish project work and stuff. The school uses English to teach all science subjects. And by science subjects, I mean chemistry, physics, biology, earth science, and of course they study English as a subject, they study ICT, and everything happens in English. That's why English is at the core. And all the students in these schools are top achievers. That's how they are selected from different prep schools. And they have to have the full mark, or at least 98% in their prep school certificate in order to be able to join STEM school. As I said, the school teaches science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I think the whole system was started to promote STEM subjects. And it is project-based learning. And I will explain more about the project, which is called Capstone, in the following slide. So the whole system is based on problem solving. The whole project is a problem solving project that happens every semester. And STEM subjects are very related to each project that happens in the school. As I said, we don't have control over the project as teachers, because somebody in the headquarters of STEM schools decide on the project each semester. And our job as teachers is to implement the project that we receive from the administration. It has to be a team project. So students work in teams of 5, sometimes 4s, and sometimes 3s. And self-learning is also promoted in my school. We use very high-tech equipment. Students have laptops and have high-speed internet, and we do online testing, and they do internet research all the time. Maybe I didn't say that, but it's a high school. That's how, only high school, I mean, they come from prep school, and it's high school students. Engineering design process is the procedures or the process that the students follow in their project every semester. And I will talk more about this later. And also it is a reflective type of learning. Students reflect on their own progress and their own learning all the time. They give feedback to teachers, to one another, and they give feedback to to themselves in order to monitor how they are progressing in each subject. This is about engineering design process, and this is how it works. Students follow these steps, starting with identify the problem, then research the prior solutions and see their strengths and weaknesses, and then they create design requirements for their own solution. They create a prototype and they test their prototype. It has to be a testable prototype. And then they keep repeating their tests until they get the desired results. Then they communicate their project in the final exhibition day. So this is how the whole thing works, and it takes a semester. I will talk elaborately now on how the capstone, the project for each semester works. So the first thing, first, it is one project per semester. So each team of students has to submit a project each semester. And at the beginning of the semester, they receive a challenge. This challenge tells them what to do. For example, the students have to design and to create a water filter to use for I don't know, like sewage water or something. And the challenge is always related to Egypt Grand Challenges, and these are 10 related to some big issues that Egypt is facing. One of them is pollution, another is unemployment, water scarcity, and other, all the like education. All these challenges, the students have to address them with their projects. Of course, it is related to STEM subjects. And while the students work on their projects, they always connect or apply what they study in the different subjects, chemistry, physics, biology, mathematics, and they apply the concepts they learn in their project. And they work in teams. They follow the engineering design process to find a solution to the challenge, and the assessment that happen is formative kind of assessment, and I will talk more about how we assess the students' work. So the capstone goes through 3 different phases of assessment. Number 1, the journals, and number 2, the portfolio, and number 3, the exhibition. And I will talk about each one of these in details in the following slides. So the journal is a test that takes place every other week. So it is on Monday in my school, and it takes place every other week. The students answer individually, and they answer 4 types of question every journal. The first type is self-reflection. They receive a question on how they think they are doing in each subject, how they think they are improving in different aspects of learning. And the second question is about teamwork. It asks them about how they manage their team, how they distribute roles, how they carry out meetings, how they cooperate, how they listen to different opinions and everything. Another question is about the engineering design process, at which stage they are and what goes next, and how it is going at this stage and everything. Also, they answer questions about learning transfer, and this refers to the different subjects. So for example, they receive a question, you have learned this concept in physics or that concept in biology. How do you apply this concept in your capstone? And how is it related to the challenge you received? And they have to answer these questions. And in fact, I find this very meaningful and authentic, because instead of learning, theories about different subjects, they connect it to the real world. It is connected to real problems and real solutions. The portfolio is a documentation of everything that the students do during their capstone project. It has the results of the research. It has all the ideas they think about, and all the testing, and all the data, and all the failures and successes that happen. They document it on a digital format, a Word document or a PDF or maybe a PowerPoint, and they submit it at the end of the project. And the exhibition day comes at the end of each semester. And in the exhibition, the students submit 3 things. The first is a poster, and it's very academic. They have a template. It should have an abstract, an introduction, data collection, and test results. It has to have some charts and tables with the tests and everything. It's very elaborate, actually. And then there is a prototype, a testable prototype that the students have to have in front of the evaluation committee. And finally, a presentation, and they present in English. And as I said, everything happens in English, starting with the instruction in the STEM subjects, ending with the exhibition where the students produce the language, not receive it. So they write the portfolio, they write the poster, and they present orally to the committee. Why project-based learning? I think each of the presenters spoke about the benefits of project-based learning. And maybe I'm repeating what they have said. It is more authentic and meaningful because the students use the knowledge they learn in each school subject to do something meaningful and something real. The students are involved. They are actually absorbed by the project they do in my school. It is what everything in the school revolves around. English is at the core. This makes me happy because the students are using English rather than studying it for passing a test or getting grades. They use the English they learn. It promotes critical thinking while doing the project and creativity. And the formative kind of assessment make the students always doing their best in order to, because it is an ongoing process rather than an exam at the end of the semester. And that was it. And if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Adil. That was a really great example, and I really appreciated how you spoke a lot about, how we heard from previous presenters how they can do more project-based learning with maybe social studies or English language arts, but I really liked how you talked about, using more engineering skills, more of the hard sciences. So that was really great to hear. I'm sure those examples will inspire a lot of other people. We did have one quick question for you. If you could share, what is being an access teacher? What does that mean?
Okay. Access program is a U.S. Embassy funded program. It offers English instructions for teenagers. They study 400 hours of English instructions for free for 2 years. So Access program has been running in Egypt for since I think 2006 or 2007. And it has provided many teenagers with their lifetime chance to learn English and to improve their communication skills. Some of them were able to apply for scholarships and travel to the United States and to other parts of the world. And it is still going. It is provided by different providers. The American University is one, Amidist is another, ERA is the third, and I think we have more providers here in Egypt. And this program is, it happens in different locations in Egypt. Asyut is one location, but I believe it is all over Egypt by now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. So again, if anyone has questions for any of our presenters at this point, please feel free to type them into the chat window. We will start answering questions now. We will see Hawaida's video that she submitted because luckily, even though she's not going to be here with us to present, she did send us a video. But since you won't get the chance to ask questions, I think maybe now is a good time to address the questions that we've gotten in so far from our audience. So I know that there are quite a few questions in the chat window, and I want to start answering those. So I'm just going to scroll up to the beginning so I can make sure that I don't miss anything. I think that, let's see. Our first question.
I think Ayman has a question for me.
Okay, Adil, would you like to go ahead and could you read the question just so everyone knows what it is and then go ahead and answer?
Ayman from Morocco asks, how does PBL promote critical thinking? Right?
Yeah, so how would you respond to that question?
Okay, if I'm talking about from my perspective, the capstone, the projects that the students carry out to solve a problem, it is a problem-solving project. And part of critical thinking is comparing different ideas, analyzing them, and choosing the better, and making judgment. And this is what they do all the time. When they research prior solutions to any problem, they see different solutions that were tried before. They have to analyze each solution and find the best. And they have to make these comparisons, talk about them, and write them. So this is at the core of critical thinking.
Great, thank you. Chanjin or Jalili, would you like to chime in on how project-based learning impacts your students and their critical thinking abilities? I've unmuted both of you, so if you have something to say, you can go ahead and just chime in.
Okay.
Okay, you go ahead.
Why don't you start?
Go ahead, Ms. Chen.
Okay. I think project-based learning really can get students really involved in making and designing. And they were going to read a lot, research a lot, and through researching, through reading a lot, they're going to analyze and choose and select what they really need, to present. So through this process, I think they learned how to think and how to criticize other people's work, other people's ideas, and finally they get what they really want, and they form their own idea about a topic, or sometimes a reading resource. So then I think that's very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Jolly, did you have anything you wanted to say about this topic, or should we have another question for you in the chat?
I think another question is okay. Both of them answered the question very well.
Okay. So we have a question for when you took your students to the museum, did they have a worksheet along with some questions to answer? Or did they maybe write their own questions? How's that structured?
Actually, at first during the class, they planned the project together. And the group leader set the role of each student and like which parts of the museum you're gonna visit, and like the very beginning, the materials, how the rocks, the dust settle. So they have different parts of role to visit. They have a certain goal, and in the process, in the planning process, the students already set the role and set the goal, and they already know what they're gonna do in the museum. So they have their piece of paper with some task that they need to do, and on the worksheet, and they need to write down the information that they saw and try to check more information if they are not sure. So they need to take their worksheet so that they can note down all the necessary information. Great. But I don't take the students, I didn't take the students to museums, because we have different museums in the city. And some of them showed how the dinosaur developed. They have dinosaur fossils. So some of them show other parts of the development of the earth. So, and my students are bigger, like 17, 16 years, over 16 years old. So I didn't need to take them to museums. I just gave them the project that they need to do, and they set the task, they set the roles and their job to do in the museum. And then they go to explore during the weekend, and they're gonna present the result after coming back on Monday, like in my class. They just present the result.
Great. Yeah, that really, I think, also allows the students to really focus on maybe what's more interesting to them as well, so they can really get something out of the project. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is probably a good question for perhaps everyone on our panel. You know, how Wenjia wants to know how long do these projects usually take to complete?
It depends on how big the project is. Like the traveling plan, one class is enough, just one period of class. But for like the voluntary work, they need to reach out to the community. It takes 2 weeks. And even the development of the earth, they need to visit outside the classrooms. So it takes 2 weeks. So we have to make sure the students have time during the weekend, and they do it very well, and they research the information. But just for inside classroom activities, usually one class is enough, one period, because they can get access to the internet, they can search information in the classroom. They don't need to go back home to search information. Mm-hmm. So usually from one period to a few weeks, a couple of weeks. It depends on the project.
Okay, how about the travel plan project? About how long did your students?
That one we just did one period.
Okay.
We just made it in one period of class.
Great. Changjin, would you like to also answer this question? Maybe you could kind of provide some examples on how long some of the projects you discussed, how long does it take for your students to complete?
I love to. Usually 1 week to 2 weeks. For very big project, like doing a video. Once we have to read a novel, a very short one, and they have 2 weeks, total 2 weeks, and to do the whole video. They're going to, do the role play, and that's a bit longer. Sometimes like bookmark, they have like only 1 week, so they can actually present very well projects. Like for many big ones, we have some teachers I know, they have for the whole semester. That's like a portfolio, like you know, the other teacher share with us. So it will be a whole book, a portfolio. It will take a whole semester. So it will take up like for 20%. So it depends on which the teachers, how you know, how important this project will take part in their total score of their final grade. Usually like this for the small projects, like my vocabulary project and also the bookmark, you know, also will take 1 week, and the presentation 1 week or 2 weeks, like this.
Great, that's some good guidelines, and certainly I think you know, Adel talked about his capstone. I'm not sure, he might have had to go, he might be joining us again later, but certainly it's something like capstone is going to take also much longer. So yeah, thank you. It shows that you can really do project-based learning either kind of on a smaller scale, just having students do something to really get them engaged in a single class period, but it can also be something that you can use over many class periods or even a semester. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how long your projects can take. Another question for Chen Jin Yoon. Could you talk a little bit about, you know, how do you do project-based learning with such a large class, maybe as many as 55 students? What are some strategies that you find more effective when working with larger classes?
Okay, so our school, you know, it's like foreign language school, so we have very small classroom. Usually I will have only 20 students in my classroom. So for what we have, like for the whole grade projects, it's, you know, the same with everybody. So we're going to usually divide the whole class into several, you know, small groups. Usually groups of 4 or 5 will be good, and too large will be not so good to cooperate, you know, with each other. I think for if you have a large classroom like 50 or 60 even, it's better to have like 10 groups or 15. It depends. So make sure that every like smaller group, they can have different roles in doing the project. Like one for doing the video, one do you know, selecting materials, one acting, one do role playing, maybe the editing for the video. So making sure that each one has a very clear part of what they're going to do and what they will be responsible to the project. And if you have a smaller group of 4 to 5, usually, you know, they can cooperate very well. And also for larger groups, I think is to organize is very important. Make sure they have a very clear timeline, like and very clear steps, and make sure that everybody will follow your steps and they know clearly what they're going to do next and deadline. Like make sure they have a, you know, a list of what they're going to do, a to-do list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in this way I think it's more effective.
Great. Jia, do you have any other advice for working with larger classes? I'm not sure if that's, how large were the classes that you did, the projects you discussed with?
My class is 59 to 60.
Okay.
So usually it's a 60. And I divide my class into groups. So groups are, dividing them into groups is really helpful. Before that, I was really afraid of doing the project-based learning in class due to the large class size. But once I started to do it, and I find out that as long as you divide them into groups and each group has a very strong leader, and they manage the whole group and make sure everyone is on task. And as for me, the teacher, I just walk around the classroom, make sure each group is on the task. So just to divide them in groups. And for the presentation, and each group we will present their result. So the group as a whole will present the result, not just a one by one student. So usually we have 8 to 9 groups. So for the whole class, we can just present all the groups' work.
Great, yeah, that's helpful. So breaking a larger class into smaller groups, making sure that each student has a leadership role within the group. They have certain tasks. Those are some great strategies for making project-based learning possible even with a larger class. And I think that might kind of speak to another question that was presented in the chat window. I know it was for Adel. How do you improve your students' leadership skills through project-based learning? But I think that some of the things that our presenters just talked about with making sure that students are assigned specific roles, making them feel kind of empowered to take on a project on their own can all help develop their leadership skills. And again, if Adel comes back, we'll make sure to ask him that question. Another question we've got is, did any of our presenters find any difficulties or challenges applying these kinds of strategies when teaching English as a second language? I don't know if Chanjin or Jolly, would either of you like to try and answer that question?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges is that our concern about their exam scores, because we are doing quite a different thing from other teachers. Other teachers are just teaching the vocabulary, the sentence patterns, and the phrases. Let the students memorize all those stuff. But our focus is, it seems that it's different on another thing. So, but actually, after a few months of a test, I found that not only the students' enthusiasm of learning English improved, their scores improved too. Because everyone is getting involved in your class. If you just lecture the vocabulary or the sentence patterns, a few of them will be absent-minded, and the teacher, you can never know what they are thinking about, even though they are looking at you. But once they work in smaller groups and they have group leader to supervise, and they have a big task to do, so they really get involved in the classroom and they have more interest in learning English. I think for language, as long as you look through a lot of information, you read a lot of information, and the vocabulary will be solved, because all the information you read is about this subject. So the vocabulary will repeat during your research process, and they will just memorize the vocabulary without knowing it. So gradually, I found that the class that I teach, in all those exam tests, not only they did not fall behind other class, but they ranked the first in the same class level. So it proved that the challenge at first, a lot of teachers are afraid of, is that the exam score will drop down. But actually, by testing for a few months, I found that it's not dropping. It's improving, actually. So that's the big challenge that we are afraid of at first, whether we need to move the focus to the project instead of memorizing those vocabulary and stuff like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that response. It's really encouraging to hear that students will pick up vocabulary and pick up sentence structure through project-based learning. That's great. Chanjin, would you also like to comment on this? You know, what is your experience in terms of, have you had any difficulties when applying project-based learning in the second language classrooms?
Okay, I think the biggest challenge for me is that sometimes, the school will stress on, the same procedures, and we have quizzes, tests, and if we do a lot of projects, sometimes, the teaching time, if my teaching process is different with another teacher teaching the same subject, then sometimes my, the timeline of our students sometimes will get a little behind. So I have to give students more time to do after class, not in the class. So for my students, a lot of projects, they actually finished after their class. So if they have a lot of homework, and if they have a lot of, projects for different teachers, then they will not have enough time sometimes to prepare very well for, the final result of or the final outcome of the project. So sometimes you have to give them more time or extended the time, the deadline for the projects. So since I know our school is foreign language school, and for some other normal high school, I think they have more challenge about this. School ask for score, ask always for higher score of English tests. So sometimes they were, not suggest more projects. I think it needs more time, maybe, for school leaders, administrators, to be aware that how important it can bring, for our students actually to do real learning.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for sharing your perspective on that. I think you also answered another question that I saw in the chat about, if students sometimes need extra time outside of class.
Yeah.
Sometimes it sounds like, yes, they do.
Yeah, sometimes they will give them like 1 period or 2 periods on the class, and basically they do their projects after class in the extra time.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. We have another question for Jalili, and Wenjia wants to know if some vocabulary and sentence patterns need some scaffolding before the project begins. What type of prep work maybe do you do for your students before they start a project?
Before they start, I would give them worksheets as a supporting materials.
Mm-hmm.
So they need those vocabulary to read, and of course they can still check new vocabulary while they're reading. But mostly based on one topic, a lot of vocabulary repeat. So in their reading, in their researching process, they will repeat. But before that, I do give them the worksheets, including all the important sentence patterns of vocabulary, but I don't need to tell them anymore. I don't need to teach them anymore. It's just they act as supporting materials. Usually a teacher will teach vocabulary of a unit for 2 or 3 class periods. They just teach the vocabulary for at least 2 class periods. And right now, I'm switching the time to doing project. I'm providing the vocabulary as a supporting material, so students get more chances of spotting those vocabulary in their researching process. And they still take the same amount of time, but they do not focus on single vocabulary teaching. But the students focus on how to solve the problem using the vocabulary.
Great, thank you. Changjin, what kind of prep do you give for your students before they start a project? You could also share maybe your perspective on that.
Mm-hmm. For my students also, usually is for review. I don't usually teach them vocabulary in my class. Usually, they're going to be they'll be provided with a vocabulary list they have to learn, and they're going to preview all the vocabularies before class. And since I teach most reading, so during the reading passages, the vocabulary will be used and discussed, and the synonyms, and also will be taught. So after all the passages, they are going to do a project. So some vocabularies will be taught, and some, vocabularies, like if they do a bookmark, then, they're going to read a book, and I'm not going to teach them all the vocabulary in this book. They're going to check and look up a dictionary and find out the meaning of the vocabulary. And sometimes they're going to do homework as a vocabulary explanation and paraphrasing. So for me, vocabulary is for students. They do their vocabulary work.
Great, thank you. And I also saw someone, I think it was also Wenjia in the chat, mentioned that she would love to be able to ask more questions. And remember, for everyone, you have the Alumni Regional Connect network that we send out every summer, but we're always happy to send it out again. So you have each other's contact information. So please feel free, if you've heard something that really interested you today, please feel free to reach out to the Alumni Network and maybe ask for examples of other things that they've done. feel free to share. And Zara wants to comment on this too.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, you can also reach out to the RELO offices in your country, and together you can provide trainings to teachers in your areas about project-based learning. Because what you heard alumni doing, probably our presenters today are doing, probably you are also doing similar things. And it would be a great thing if you can share this with not only with our TCLP alumni community, but also sharing this with your colleagues and training your colleagues to use project-based learning. And also remember that you can apply for CLP's Critical Language Project Funds in order to provide this type of trainings to your colleagues. I think both Jalili as well as Chen Jin-yoon had organized in the past trainings for their colleagues. It wasn't exactly for project-based learning, if I am not mistaken, but just the same, they were able to train their colleagues too. So I would encourage you to get in touch with the RELO offices in your country, as well as to apply to the CLPs to get funding to help spread the wealth of experience and wealth of information that you are able now to use in your classes.
Thank you, Zara. And since I don't see any new questions at the moment, I'm going to take this opportunity to show Hawaida Hassan's video. Since she couldn't be here to give a little bit of background, this is something that she did with her students fairly recently, and they created a really neat project. And so fortunately we have her video. So I'm just going to go ahead and play that. Give me just 1 second to share with all of you.
Hello, I'm Hawaida Hassan. This year I established the English Club in the Kafrawi Language School with the students of the secondary stage. In this club, the students practice many activities, and the only condition to practice these activities and join the club is to speak in English and don't use the Arabic language. So we practice many activities like broadcast programs, reading some novels, making wall charts, giving lectures in human development. So we use the computer lab sometimes to give our lectures, and sometimes we go to the activity room and use it to make the wall charts because they have the table, the tools we use to make them. Thank you.
Hello, I am Rahab Shamso. I am an English teacher in the secondary stage. Mrs. Waida and I are working with the students in the English club. We help the students to use the English language during doing the activities.
Hello, I'm Ziad Amir, the student's junior principal. I thought of an idea to improve the English language in our school, and not just in our school, but in the whole country. All people should improve their English. So the idea is, we thought of an English club, a place where you're all inside. We just practice anything. We do many activities. But the first point is, the main point of this thing is that we should talk in English. It's just in English. But English is not our native tongue, so we should learn that to be native speakers of this language. It's just like that.
My name is Wahab Ajdi. I'm the main artist in the English club. I was asked to design a logo for the club, and the first idea that went into my brain was to change one of the English code letters into a heart shape, so it can represent that, tell that the English is the main source of life. Then I found that the G is the most suitable letter to change it. Then I did this.
I'm Farhan and I'm in the secondary stage. I'm a member in the English club who is responsible for preparing a broadcast, and we do that twice a month.
My name is Ramandula. I'm in the secondary stage. As a board member of the English club, I run a lecture about human development through colors that help the students to know more about their character and their personality, and to guide them to know the suitable career for their character. Now I'm preparing for another lecture about self-confidence.
I wander lonely as a cloud that floats on higher veils and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. I'm Yusuf Saleh, I'm a member in the English club. I love poetry very much. I'm used to reciting poems for my colleagues in the English club and in the English broadcast.
The day you lost everything is the day you will know the real friends you have. My name is Jane. I don't know what I want now, but I feel different feelings. I studied that I live with a lot of people, but no one knows how I am. My name is Dunya Saad Ali. I'm a student in the secondary stage. I'm interested in writing. During English club, I read some of my novels to my friends and discuss them together.
Hello, I'm Yusuf Club. I'm in secondary stage. I'm a board member in the English club, and for the English club I have to do everything, and the best thing I have done for it is the rules that I have created for the English club, and we have written it in this board, and it's just all like we are saying that we are all one, and there's no difference between the members, just we have to talk English, and thank you.
So that was Huwaida Hassan's video that her students actually made as a part of their broadcasting project. And we think that's a really neat example of how she was able to use project-based learning with their English club, as you saw. And we are really just so proud of her for becoming a principal now, and we wish her all the best. And I'm sure if you have questions for her presentation, you can send them in an email to us, or if you have her contact information, reach out to her directly. We'd be happy to follow up with you if you had questions about what she did with her English club. So I don't see any more questions in the chat window now, so I want to thank you all so much for coming to the second day of our alumni conference. Please complete our alumni survey. We always are looking for new ways to improve. This will give you a chance to share what topics you would like to hear us present on in the future, or hear your colleagues present on in the future. And of course, we always love hearing from you, so please share with us what you're doing in your classrooms. We are so grateful for our amazing alumni who shared what they're doing, but we know that all of you out there are doing wonderful things in your classes all around the world. So please share that with us. You can send us an email and tell us what you're up to, or you can also fill out our survey. And I want to say a big thank you again to Jalili, Chenjin-Yoon, Adil, and Huwaida for sending us the video. We're so grateful for their presentations. Of course, we also want to thank ECA and Maxine Pitterlund for her support of the program. We couldn't do it without them. And we also want to thank the RELO offices for their support. They are a great resource for all of you who are back in China, Egypt, and Morocco. So please reach out to them as well. Thank you so much. With that, we want to close the 6th annual alumni conference, and we can't wait to see you again next year for the 7th. We're going to turn on our video so we can say hi to everyone, or really bye to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.